Hello everyone, let's do a long division problem here. We have this 2x cubed minus 13x squared plus 29x minus 42, and it's divided by this binomial here, x minus 4. And so we call this the dividend, and then this that comes after the division symbol, it's called a divisor. And so the first step is that we are going to set up the long division symbol, and then we're going to put those two expressions, the dividend and the divisor, inside the division symbol there. So we are going to just make a line right here. Okay, so that's a horizontal line. And then we just put that down. And now what we can do is that we are going to put the dividend. This is the dividend here. And then we put it inside the division house. So we are going to get 2x cubed and then minus 13x squared and then plus 29x and then minus 42. And so know that I actually put the sign together with the term. So we are just going to treat it as 2x cubed plus negative 13x squared. So let me just repeat that one more time. This is 2x cubed plus. Now you don't really see the plus sign right here, but then you know that when we are stacking all these terms together, then we are adding them, right? We are adding a negative 13x squared. Okay, so I actually said that it's negative, so we are not going to treat it as 2x cubed minus 13x squared. We are just treating it as 2x cubed plus negative 13x squared, and then plus positive 29x, and then plus, again, it's plus, and then negative 42. Okay, so once we put down the dividend inside the division house, we are going to put the divisor outside the house. So the divisor goes here. Then we have x minus 4. Okay, so once we're ready, I think I need more space above this one. So let me just move it slightly down. Okay, so that's good. What we are going to do next is that we are going to just count how many turns that we have in the divisor. And since this is a binomial, so we have 2 turns. And when we have 2 turns here, we are going to count. So that's 1 turn, that's the second turn. So our first turn for the answer will go above this negative 13x squared. Okay, so usually I would just help myself by drawing a box over there just to make it easy for me to see. So we can just draw a box right here, and then we can draw another box, and then we can draw another one. Okay, so there are 3 boxes. That means there are 3 turns for our answer. Sometimes we only will end up getting fewer than 3 turns. Those are really like rare situations, but it can happen. So it depends on the situation. I will show you a video with that kind of situation later on. But for this one, we are going to fill in all 3 boxes. So now how do we start? We are going to start by filling in the first box. The first box, which is this one. And we want to figure out something that we fill into this box so that when we multiply whatever that you have here by x, we are going to get the 2x cubed. And what is that? We can actually do the numbers and the variables separately. And so what we can do is that we have a 1 right here. That's the coefficient of the x, right? We need to figure out a number that when we multiply by 1, which is the coefficient of the x, and then we are going to get the 2. And so that should be easy, right? So 2 times 1 gives you the 2. So I'm going to put a 2 here. And then that's not the only thing that we need to put here, because when we just take the 2 and then we multiply by x, we are going to get 2x, but we are not going to get 2x cubed. So we also need a variable here to raise to some power that when we multiply that by x, we are going to get x cubed. And so the answer would also be easy. So it will be 2x squared that we are going to put here inside this first box. So 2x squared. So see what's going on here? 2x squared. We have 2 times 1 gives us 2. X squared times x will give us the x cubed. So we are going to just take this and then multiply by this x. Then we are going to get 2 x cubed. Okay, so that's good. And then, but that's not that's not the only thing that we need to do here. Because there are two terms in the divisor, what we need to do is that we also need to take this 2x squared and then we multiply with this -4 so that we can put our result here. So in general, the motion is really just this. Let me just show the color right here. I'm going to erase it afterward. So we are going to multiply this 2x squared with the x, and then we are going to put that here. And then we are going to multiply this -4 by the 2x squared, and then we are going to put that term right here. Okay, so we need to, once we fill in this box, we need to take whatever that's inside the box and multiply by all the terms that you see in the divisor. So that's why we counted at the beginning how many terms that we have for the divisor, because we are going to get that many terms that goes under your original dividend. Okay, so let me erase all those arrows right now. Yeah, so we are going to do 2x squared times the -4, which will give us the -8x squared. I'm actually using the same color just to do the highlighting so that it will be easier for us to see that we are going to get two terms here because we have two terms in the device as the divisor. Okay, so now we draw the line, and then we are going to do the subtraction, right? Now let's do the subtraction. Because we chose our answer for the first box based on um, the first term, because we're trying to get exactly the first term so that when you subtract them, they're going to get canceled. Yeah, so let me just make a note right here. This is subtraction. This is subtraction. Remember long division, you take the top minus the bottom, and then we are putting the result below the line, right? So this will get canceled completely because they're the same. So when you subtract two things that are the same, 5 minus 5, 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, they are going to become 0. Okay, so we do not need to put anything here. You can put a 0 here if you want, but there is no, it's unnecessary for, there is no reason for that. It will just make more stuff on the screen, which will cause confusion. So we try to keep it as clean as possible when we're doing the calculation. Okay, so now we are going to do the subtraction here. For this one, because they are not the same, so when we subtract them, then we are going to get something other than 0. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are going to take the -13x squared minus -8x squared. So the signs can be really confusing here in general because we're doing the subtraction. So one trick that I can tell you is that there was one easy way for us to do the calculation other than just copying this term and then copying this term and then do the calculation on the side. You can, all you need to do is to worry about subtracting the coefficients. You don't really need to worry about the x squared because they're like terms, right? So we don't really need to worry about writing everything out. So now just focus on the coefficient. What we are going to do is that we are going to copy this -13 on the side. So I usually put it right here just um, to do the calculation, just to show the calculation in a convenient way. Okay, so I copy this -13. So I copy it there. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this -8. Copy this -8. So copy that. When you copy, make sure that you include everything, right? Including the sign. So -13, -8. And what do we do next? We are going to subtract. We are going to subtract. So what's happening here? Do you see that I left more space when I copy down those two numbers? It's really because I want to put a minus sign right here. So I'm going to put that minus sign right here. Then that actually makes our numbers with two signs stacked together. So we should be adding a pair of parentheses. And so this subtraction sign is due to the subtraction. It's due to the subtraction in long division. Okay. And so we always put a minus sign right here. That came from here. So I actually use the same color for that. Let me just use the same color for that. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, so now we can do the subtraction. It becomes quite obvious what this would give you, because that's -13 minus -8, so that will be +8. So we are going to get -5 right here. And then see that the x squared, all you need to do is to just bring it down, right? So there is no need to worry about the x squared. That's why I said we only need to worry about subtracting the two coefficients. Okay, next step. We get a remainder here, but of course that's not finished, right? We are going to bring down the next term with our first remainder, and then we are going to get two terms. So the next step is to copy down this positive 29x. Now, people tend to put down the -42 here, but that's unnecessary. Why do we only need to bring down just the positive 29x? It's really because we are already having two terms right here. If we are already having two terms here, and because our divisor has only two terms, then we do not really need to bring down the -42, which will make our polynomial here three terms, but that's unnecessary, right? We are not going to be using this -42 until at a later time. So next, we are going to figure out the answer for the second box. So what are we going to do here? I'm going to use a different color. Let me see. So let me try to use a green color this time. So we take something times a 1, which will give us -5. So that something would be -5 in this case. -5 times 1 will give us the -5. That's how we will be matching the leading term right here. What about the variable? The variable something times x give us the x squared. So that something would be x. Why x? Because x times x would give us the x squared. Okay, so now -5x times x will give us -5x squared. So we are going to put that term down here. But remember that because we have two terms in the divisor, we also need to take this -5x and then we multiply by -4. So we are going to get positive 20x. And then we got to do the subtracting, right? So for the subtraction, I'm going to use the purple again because I know that I'm going to show it on the side with the calculation. Again, as you can see here, the two leading terms will cancel each other out because they're exactly the same and we are subtracting them. But the second terms will not give you a 0, so we are going to subtract them. So in this case, it would actually be quite easy because they're both positive, but I'm still showing the calculation anyway on the side. So I'm just going to copy this number 29, right, with the positive sign. And usually we don't need to copy the positive sign, so we can just do 29 right here. And then I'm going to copy the second number, the number under it, right? So it's 20 and that's positive. So we don't need to worry about the sign. We just copy the 20. We copy the 20 here. And then, yeah, so the order is important. You copy the top number and then you copy the bottom number. And then eventually you will put down the sign. So we are going to put the minus sign at last, right? So don't put down the 29 and then put down the minus sign and then put down the 20, because sometimes like if you run into this kind of situation, you are going to, maybe you can forget that sign. So to avoid having calculation error, it's easier to follow the exact same order of putting down the stuff, because you won't forget if you are putting the minus sign at last. Okay, so 29 minus 20, which will be easy, so that's 9, right? So we're going to get 9 here. And then, of course, the x will stay there, 9x. Okay, next. we have one term now. Let's bring down the negative 42. And then one thing that I just realized that it's that the box disappears. I think I accidentally erased it. So I don't even know when that happened, but let's just draw the box one more time. Okay, yeah, that's good. So let's try to fill in the answer for the last box. So something times x will give us 9x. So that something would be a positive 9, right? So usually we know that we are not going to put the sign for the 9, right? We can, but because we are actually eventually putting a polynomial together as the answer, right? So we should put a plus sign right here just to indicate that we are adding. But even if we don't put it, we know that we are adding the 9, right? We're not multiplying the 9. Okay, so positive 9 times x will give us positive 9x. And then positive 9 times negative 4 will give us negative 36. Okay. So we draw the line. And then we also put down the subtraction. And then now this one, again, it becomes more interesting. What's going on here? We will cancel the 9x, right? Because they're the same, we subtract them, you get 0. Those two numbers, they're not the same, so we are going to get a remainder here. Let's copy down the negative 42 just like before. So copy down the negative 42. Now copy down the negative 36. Don't put the purple sign, purple minus sign yet, right? Just copy down the negative 36. And then now put down the purple minus sign. And then, yes, of course, we will need parentheses right here. And that actually, you can see that it will give us a plus, right? Negative minus negative will turn it into a plus here. Yeah, so it's really just like this one turns into a plus. Those two together turns into a plus. So you're having negative 42 plus 36. And what is that? That's negative 6. So that would be negative 6. So that's our remainder. And we will stop here because we have no more terms to bring down to continue with our division. And yeah, so the quotient, which is above the long division symbol, above the long division house, that's our quotient. And then whatever that goes down here, that's the remainder. And yeah, so that's it for this problem. We actually got the quotient, we got the remainder, then we are done with the long division problem. One thing that we really want to do is that we are going to write down the answer and in a proper way. How do you write down the answer in a proper way? It's this. The format, it's going to be, so let me just write it down here. So the format, when you're writing down the final answer, the format would be the quotient. Oh, actually, I want to make a box, right? So let's do it. So the format would be the quotient. So let me put the quotient in here, right? The format would be the quotient, which it is the stuff that's up here, okay? And then plus. Now, when you're adding, you are going to get a fraction here. So let me just put that. And then you're going to get something at the top and then something at the bottom. Okay, so what are those things? You are going to put the remainder at the top. And then what about the denominator of the fraction? You are going to put the divisor. Yeah, which one is the divisor? The divisor is this x minus 4. Okay, so that's the form of the answer. And so in this case, how do we write down the form of the answer? it's this. We are going to get what? We are going to have, let me just put down the equal sign right here. We are going to have the 2x squared. That's the first term of the quotient. Second term of the quotient is negative 5x. Okay, so just copying from here. And then the third term of the quotient is plus 9. And then plus. Now the fraction. And then what do we need to put at the top? The top would be, let me see. So the top would be the remainder, right? So the remainder is right here, negative 6. So we are going to put the negative 6 here. And then what about the divisor? The divisor is this x minus 4. So we are going to put the x minus 4 right here. And then so we're done with the problem. So that's our answer. And yeah, so it's important to put the plus sign right here, because if you don't put it, it will cause confusion. We don't know whether that operation between the 9 and the fraction is a multiplication, because it's soon be multiplication, right? It should be addition. And yeah, so that's that. And then so that's it for this problem. Okay, so if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and then give me some support. And I will thank you for watching this one, and see you next time.